Everyone thinks motivation is the key to success, but that's the biggest lie you've been sold. Motivation fades the moment life gets tough, while discipline keeps moving when everything inside you wants to quit. If you truly want to change your life, stop chasing feelings and start mastering discipline. There is a truth about success that most people avoid, a truth that feels uncomfortable yet liberating once you accept it. The world feeds us endless talks about motivation, about chasing inspiration, about waiting for that magical spark that will push us into action. But the reality is, motivation is fragile. It comes and goes like a fleeting wind, and if you depend on it, you will spend most of your life stuck in the same place. Discipline, on the other hand, is cold, steady, and unglamorous. It doesn't care about your mood, your feelings, or whether you're inspired. Discipline is the act of showing up, even when your heart screams to stay in bed, even when your body begs for comfort. And that is what builds the life you want, not the occasional high of motivation. Think about the last time you felt highly motivated. Maybe it was after watching a powerful video, reading a moving book, or listening to a speech that lit a fire in your chest. You probably felt unstoppable for a few hours, maybe even a few days. But then, what happened? The fire dimmed, the energy drained, and you were left with the same choices you had before. That is the trap of motivation. It fools you into waiting to feel ready. Motivation allows you to delay action until you're in the mood. Discipline removes the luxury of waiting. It demands you to act whether you feel like it or not. And that's why disciplined people win. They remove the option of procrastination. Motivation thrives on emotion. It needs the right playlist, the right speech, the right circumstances. Discipline is emotionless. It doesn't ask for permission from your feelings. It simply moves forward. You can be tired, uninspired, even hopeless, but if you've trained discipline, you will still take that step forward. That's why discipline builds momentum, and momentum builds transformation. Most people misunderstand this dynamic. They assume motivation is the fuel and discipline is the car. In reality, motivation is just the spark to start the engine, but discipline is the endless fuel that keeps the car running. If you rely only on sparks, you'll start 100 journeys but never reach a single destination. Consider athletes. Do you think Olympic champions rely on motivation to train? Do you think they wake up every day eager to torture their bodies through grueling routines? Of course not. They rely on discipline. They who train their minds to obey the schedule, not their emotions. Motivation might start them, but discipline carries them to the medal. Motivation is intoxicating because it feels good. It makes you dream bigger, it excites your imagination, it convinces you that change is possible, and yes, it has its place. But if you build your life around it, you'll end up addicted to the feeling of wanting change instead of creating it. Discipline is the silent workhorse. It doesn't give you dopamine highs, but it delivers results. The uncomfortable truth is that greatness is boring on the surface. Behind every extraordinary achievement lies years of ordinary, repetitive discipline. Writing daily pages, lifting weights consistently, practicing scales endlessly, making calls every single morning. None of this is glamorous, none of it feels magical, yet this is exactly what produces mastery. When you tell people this, they often resist. They want success to be exciting, they want the process to feel fun, they want motivation to carry them. But discipline asks you to embrace boredom, to repeat actions until they become second nature, to continue when the novelty has worn off. That is where breakthroughs are born, in the persistence most people cannot tolerate. The truth nobody tells you is that relying on motivation is a form of self-sabotage. It gives you an excuse to do nothing when you're not in the mood. It allows you to justify laziness by saying, "I just don't feel motivated today." Discipline kills that excuse. It tells you to do it anyway. That's why disciplined people look unstoppable. They simply don't negotiate with feelings. Motivation is a guest that comes and goes. Discipline is a permanent resident. Motivation knocks on your door when it pleases. Discipline lives inside you and never leaves. Motivation depends on the weather, on your mood, on your circumstances. Discipline builds regardless of storms. That's why, if you cultivate discipline, you become unshakable. Every time you act without motivation, you are strengthening discipline. Every time you show up, even when you're tired, you are forging mental steel. Every time you do what you said you would do, regardless of feelings, you are building an identity of reliability. And once that identity forms, you no longer need to chase motivation. You become someone who simply does. Motivation is exciting at the start, but dies in the middle. Discipline feels heavy at the start, but gets lighter with time. The more you repeat, the easier it becomes until the action feels automatic. That is the paradox. Motivation fades, discipline compounds. When you understand this, you stop waiting for perfect timing. You stop depending on moods. You stop believing in magical bursts of inspiration. Instead, you build systems, routines, and habits that function without your emotions. That is the essence of discipline, freeing yourself from the chains of your own feelings. Ask yourself honestly, how many dreams have you delayed because you were waiting to feel motivated? How many times have you postponed action until inspiration struck? How many opportunities slipped through your fingers because the spark didn't appear at the right time? This is the cost of relying on motivation. It steals your future one excuse at a time. Discipline, however, guarantees progress. Even if it's slow, even if it's small, discipline ensures you move forward. One page written every day becomes a book. One workout every day becomes strength. One act of discipline every day becomes transformation. That is the secret compound interest of life, tiny disciplined actions creating massive, long-term results. The world loves to sell motivation because it's sexy. It makes for powerful speeches, dramatic videos, emotional slogans. Discipline doesn't sell because it looks ordinary. Nobody wants to hear, wake up, repeat, endure, stay consistent. But this is exactly what separates the dreamers from the achievers. The harsh truth is that most people will never cultivate true discipline. They will chase motivation forever, consuming content, searching for the next spark, starting projects but never finishing. They will live in cycles of excitement followed by burnout, and then they'll wonder why their life never changes. But those who master discipline tap into a power most people never experience. They discover what it feels like to take control of their destiny. They understand that freedom is not the absence of structure, but the ability to build and stick to the structure that leads to success. Discipline is not punishment. It is the highest form of self-respect. It is saying to yourself, I am worthy of my own commitment. I am worthy of following through. I am worthy of building the life I dream of, even if my emotions resist. Discipline is love expressed through consistency. Motivation asks, do I feel like it? Discipline says, it doesn't matter. Motivation comes from the outside, an inspiring story, a moving speech. Discipline comes from within. It's a decision, a choice, a muscle you strengthen every day. That is why motivation is temporary, but discipline is permanent. When you realize this, you stop idolizing motivation. You stop chasing highs. You stop waiting for permission. You begin to build a disciplined lifestyle where success becomes inevitable, not optional. You begin to trust yourself because you know you will act regardless of mood. That is real power. Motivation will give you a spark, but sparks don't last. Discipline builds the fire and keeps it burning day after day, year after year. And in that fire, the old version of you is burned away, and the disciplined version rises, the version that doesn't wait, doesn't quit, and doesn't negotiate. This is the truth nobody tells you. Motivation feels good, but discipline changes lives. Motivation excites you for a moment, but discipline defines you forever. Motivation makes promises, but discipline delivers results. And at the end of the day, your life will not reflect the moments you felt inspired. It will reflect the days you acted disciplined.